Do you find yourself struggling around the greens? Sometimes you bladed across the green, come up short, but no matter what you tried or done, you simply can't take the pressure off your putter to make more 1 and 2 putts. If this sounds like you, then today's a good day because I'm going to share 3 things about your wedges. No, I'm not talking about the bounce, loft, or grind. So if I grabbed your attention, let's find out more. I do want to take a quick second to thank all of our current subscribers. If you haven't noticed, we're now over 7,000 and well on our way to 8,000. So thank you for your continued support. And if you have any suggestions or questions about club fitting or golf clubs in general, then do me a favor. Just leave them in the remarks below and we'll continue to help you find the answers to the questions you're looking for. As a quick disclaimer, today's video isn't to diminish the significance of bounce, grind, or loft, or the wedge fitting process for that matter, because it is a critical step, but I will go as far to say that if we don't address these other 3 things we're about to talk about, then it doesn't really matter what bounce, grind, or loft you do select, you're likely still going to struggle around the greens. The first thing I want to talk to you about has to deal with the length of your wedges, and please hear me loud and clear on this one. It really doesn't matter if you're 5'6" or 6'6". If you bought your wedges off the shelf or maybe even ordered them direct from the manufacturers without any modifications, I can almost guarantee you your wedges are way too short for you. And before helping you understand how we solve the problem, I want to take a quick second to help you understand why it's a problem to begin with. The OEMs, as well as your local club builders, is likely following their traditional build standards, and as we go down in the golf bag, your golf clubs are going to get shorter. So as an example, if you're playing a traditional set of golf clubs, by the time you get to a lob wedge, it's going to be checking in at 35 inches. Even for somebody that's a hobbit like myself, I find that just to be a little too short, and I do find myself bending over more. So God help you if you're 6 foot or better playing traditional length golf clubs. Not only does this put your body in a compromised position by having to bend over more, it will also put a little extra stress on your lower back, and it can make the technique a little tougher to execute as a result of not being able to stay down in your posture through the swing. So if we were able to build the golf clubs a little longer, we just might be able to help, and here's the solution we came up with, which is following the 1 length philosophy from the 9-iron and down. You heard me right. Once we get to the 9-iron, we completely disregard the industry build standards and we stop going shorter. So as an example, the pitching wedge, gap wedge, sand wedge, and lob wedge will all be the same length as the 9-iron. And once again, it doesn't matter if you're 5'6" or 6'6", I'm going to build those clubs to the same length as a 9-iron we spec'd out for you. But there is one thing you have to watch out for if you do this. We gotta make sure we protect the swing weight integrity of those wedges. If not, by the time you get to the lob wedge, it's going to be heavier. So simply adding a counterweight into the handle to make sure that the swing weights are all in unison is definitely something you have to watch out for. Which just also happens to be the second thing we need to talk about, and that is swing weight. So whether or not if you go with traditional wedge lengths or the 1 length wedge lengths that we suggest, you gotta make sure your swing weights are in balance of one another. And more importantly, you gotta make sure they're in harmony with the rest of your irons. And this is the #1 thing that we will see that impacts more of our customers than anything else. Just as important as the golf shaft becomes the timing mechanism to help us find center of face, swing weight is equally important to help us release that golf club in the same manner. If they're all over the map or it's too heavy or too light, this can throw our timing off. And there are a couple general rules of thumb to follow. For our traditional wedge lengths, where they continue to get shorter, I am okay if those wedges are 1 to 2 points heavier than that of our irons. The key here is I don't want them to be lighter. Now, I'm also okay if you follow more of a progressive swing weight. So as the wedges get shorter, they also will get a little heavier. But the general rule of thumb to follow here is I don't want that wedge to be any heavier than 1 point than that of the previous wedge. So as an example, if my first traditional wedge is D3, sand wedge would be D4, and lob wedge no heavier than D5. But if your club builder has the means to keep the swing weight the exact same in your entire wedge set and 1 to 2 points heavier than your irons, this would even be better. So just double check with them to make sure they have the ability to add a little counterweight to the grip, so this way they can keep everything in balance. Now, if you do decide to go down the one length path, we need to understand the use of counterweights is no longer an option. It becomes a necessity because as those wedges get longer, they will get heavier. Difference between your last wedge and your last iron can be as much as 7 to 8 swing weight points, and that's just too much. So here, using a counterweight can offset that and keep it in balance. And if we know we have to use a counterweight, then there's really no sound logic of why your wedges would be different swing weights. So keep all of the wedges the exact same swing weight, and here the only difference would be that of the weights used. Maybe in your lob wedge, you're gonna have to use a 16-gram counterweight, and then the sand, maybe a 12-gram, but let your club builder worry about that because he's fully equipped to handle those situations. Now, the last thing we need to talk about has to deal with the lie angle implications. And here, I want you to understand if we follow traditional build standards, lie angle will get more upright as the clubs get shorter. And if you utilize the one length approach we've been talking about today, it should be the exact same lie angle. But there is a situation where you might want to make one of your wedges more upright than the other. If you have a wedge that you like to use as a Swiss Army knife, and it's a wedge that you will open up the face, you like to choke down on the grip, anytime we choke down, we need to understand we're going to make that club shorter, and we're going to inherently make that lie angle more flatter. So that club itself will need to be more upright than any of the other wedges. So when you're chipping around the greens, and if you find yourself missing more right or having to offset that and aim more left just to get the ball on line, adjusting your lie angle an additional 2 degrees than the others can definitely be your saving grace. So take that into consideration, share that with your club builder or fitter, and you might be on your way to dropping some more shots in the bucket. So there you have it, the 3 additional things you need to look out for when you're selecting your next set of wedges. So make sure you have the right length, the right swing weight, and the right lie angles, and without question, a club fitter can definitely be your best choice with navigating this selection. So if you have any questions or comments, do me a favor. Just leave them in the remarks below, and I'll do my very best to help you find the answers to the questions you're searching for. So until next week, thanks for watching.